Hello, everyone, and welcome to ReelQuick, episode 125. Today, we have a review of Swiss Army Man, directed by the Daniels, which I'm sure you all know about after Everything Everywhere All at Once took the Oscars and took the world by storm last year. This is their debut film, starring Paul Dano, Daniel Radcliffe, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. This was suggested by our patron, Jimmy O'Connor. Make sure you go check out our Patreon down in the description down below. We got a ton of awesome perks, including extra voting weight in this year's ReelTok Awards. The votes are absolutely pouring in right now, and your vote gets counted for extra weight if you are a patron. So go check in the description down below. Join our Patreon, join our Discord. A lot of fun over there. We're talking in there every single day. But with that intro out of the way, let's jump into Swiss Army Man. This is your first time watching it. I did not see your review or score. I don't think I published my review or score either. No, I didn't. I hid mine. So we both got hidden reviews since we're saving it for here. And then obviously Seth and George are not able to be here today. I believe they're both going to be back for the episode on Monday, but don't hold me to that. But they both do have scores posted. So we'll talk about that after we give our scores as well. But Cam, Swiss Army Man, what's your thoughts? Actually, hold on. I'll give the synopsis. Swiss Army Man, we all need somebody to lean on. Alone on a tiny deserted island, Hank has given up all hope of ever making it home again. But one day, everything changes when a dead body washes ashore, and he soon realizes it may be his last opportunity to escape certain death. Armed with his new friend and an unusual bag of tricks, the duo go on an epic adventure to bring Hank back to the woman of his dreams. Cam, floor is yours.
I think I'll have Swiss Army Man around like a 75 out of 100. I enjoyed it a lot, so that's like as low as you get on the 4-star, but we'll keep it on the 4-star. I liked it a lot. I enjoyed Swiss Army Man a lot. You texted earlier in the week. It's a quick watch, which it is. I think it's like an hour 37, somewhere around there. So 97-minute movie with 7 minutes of credits. So basically a 90-minute movie. Quick watch, breeze to get through. It's the Daniels doing the Daniels. If you're a fan of Everything Everywhere All at Once, you'll probably be a fan of this. It's definitely less sincere, not sincere, but I don't know. I like Everything Everywhere All at Once a whole lot more than this, but I love that movie. But this is no like different than that. It's I just think that's a bit more pieced together. Where that's a super weird movie with a lot of great heart. Ton of emotion in it. And I think this is a super weird movie with a lot of great heart and a ton of emotion, just not to that extent of Everything Everywhere All at Once. But you definitely see their directing in this. It's basically about a man finds another man who can fart and become a boat and can direct, like, not even kidding,
a source of fresh water to drink.
Fresh water by puking it up. His erection gives directions, which great rhyme there. I never even thought of it before that. So maybe that's what they were going for. Like, I forget what else. He can snap and light like sparks to create fire, right? So just a lot of stupid things that, like, if you don't find it funny in any way, this could simply be a half star out of 5. Or a 0 out of 100, whatever you want to call it. I think it works here, and I enjoyed it. Paul Dano obviously is fantastic. I always like seeing, oh Lord, Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe. Names are hard. I always enjoy seeing Daniel Radcliffe outside of Harry Potter, even though, like you just saw in my mind, like everything goes back to that. But it's nice to see him branch out. You named Mary Elizabeth Winstead, right? Named her. She's like barely in it. She's basically just a picture on a phone for most of the movie. But I think those two give really, really great performances. I didn't love the start. The start you kind of got to get into. Didn't wholeheartedly love the ending. I enjoyed the ending. I didn't love it. But we can get into that a little bit after your initial thoughts. But those are kind of my general takeaways from the movie.
Yeah, I think you nailed a lot of things with the comparisons to Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is Everything Everywhere All at Once was the first Daniels movie I saw, but
yeah,
if I would have saw this before, I think so much of it would have been less shocking from Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like, there's so much, obviously, like the butt plug jokes and just so much silly little humor that like was shock value and Everything Everywhere All at Once. But after watching Swiss Army Man, it's like, then you're like, well, Everything Everywhere All at Once isn't even shock value. It's just the way the Daniels are. But this is an awesome debut. You can tell immediately that they already had their editing style and filming style, cinematography down pat from this film. But yeah, just a very bizarre movie. I mean, like Cam described what Daniel Radcliffe's character is. He can, you know, he can be a jet ski from his farts. He can light fires. He can pour water out of his mouth to keep Paul Dano alive. He can give directions with his erection. He truly is a Swiss Army man. Like that's where the point of the film comes, or the film title comes in. But I think this easily could have been just one of the worst movies ever if it wasn't for Paul Dano and Daniel Radcliffe being as good as they are in this, which is similar to what you could say about Everything Everywhere at Once. Like if it just didn't fall together the way it did and had such sincere performances, you could see it just not working. So I think the Daniels have a good eye for working with a talented casting agent to get the right people in their movies. But yeah, this easily could have just fallen so flat, much like Joyride earlier this year. It's just, if it's not like your style of humor or it's off-putting to you, there's so much of that humor laced in here that if you don't vibe with it immediately, buckle up. There's just 100 more instances of the same exact humor coming. But I really enjoyed the editing style of this. Paul Dano, that was fantastic. Daniel Radcliffe was great as well. I mean, his range in this is limited in terms of what he's actually doing with his voice in this. He's basically a little baby that washes up on shore mentally, and you have to basically teach him his whole life. And Paul Dano throughout the movie's kind of egging him along, showing him what the world is all about until he kind of matures, goes through kind of like a form of puberty and starts to be sexually interested. Like it's kind of like basically like raising a baby almost. So most of the movie, Daniel
like
Radcliffe is barely, yeah, like poor things. Exactly, honestly. And most of the movie, Daniel Radcliffe is barely saying a single word, and he's basically dead. Like he's just getting dragged around, thrown down cliffs. Just basically, Paul Dano's just dragging this man along for life. But then we kind of get to the end, and we'll talk about this when we kind of end our initial discussion of the film. But I think the dialogue is really fun here and interesting. I think it's similar to almost Before Sunrise and the Before trilogy in terms of like, it just seems like the Daniels are actually, I'll see who actually wrote this film. It might have been them, but pause on that. So written by, the Daniels. Okay. So it was written and directed by them. Whereas the Before trilogy, I almost feel like it's just Richard Linklater's outlooks on life and what he would want to tell himself and stuff he's learned philosophy wise over his years. And he just kind of paints that into dialogue throughout the film. I feel like Swiss Army Man has a lot of things about life where, whether like I didn't look up the Daniels, like I know they have kids. I don't know when they had their kids. So around 2016, like this seems like something I could see someone writing to be, kind of a father's message to their kids. Cause most of the movie is Paul Dano just telling Daniel Radcliffe what the world's all about, and Daniel Radcliffe realizing a lot of hard truths of how the world actually works. So I can see it either being a letter to, a kid you're raising, or just a letter to your younger self, as we see Paul Dano, a man that at the beginning of the film is literally trying to hang himself until the rope snaps and he sees Daniel Radcliffe. So kind of just going through those emotions of realizing you're going to end your own life, and then kind of realizing throughout the film, like the things that have drove him to this point and what's gone on in his life to kind of push him to the brink. So I think it's a really interesting film dialogue wise that I really appreciate. But ultimately, overall, I do give the film a 3.5 star. It's right on the border of 4 stars. So I do really like it. I think Everything Everywhere at Once is just a little sharper in all aspects of it, a little more engaging. I do love the dialogue though throughout this. I think it's the strongest point, but the rest of it, I can say it's a phenomenal debut for the Daniels, but just not my favorite movie in the world compared to Everything Everywhere at Once, but it's definitely a lot more positive than negative. So I give it a 3.5 star. Cam, 75 would be a 4 star, right? I think so.
Sorry,
yeah.
I was trying to shake my head.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had the screen covered.
No, you're fine.
Then
Yes, it is a 4 star.
Seth gave it a 4 star, and I swear George has seen this, but yes, he also gives it a 4 star. So we're all like pretty much in the same boat here. So, and we don't have them this week, but if they were here, maybe we would all just been echo chambering similar things anyways. So we'll kind of break the spoiler point here and just start talking a little more liberally about the film and without kind of holding back. But yeah, so where do you want to start?
I don't care. It's just I think I think you hit the nail on the head with like, this could be the worst movie ever, especially if you don't get the message that's like they want you to take away. Where, like you mentioned, like it's Paul Dano kind of walking Daniel Radcliffe through life, and like, oh, you don't fart in public because people don't like that, and it's an extreme case where no one likes that, and I don't think that's like what's driving someone to the brink of wanting to take their own life, but it is a lot of like, in life people don't like people who are expressing themselves in a different way or being different. People want you to conform to normality, which you by no means you don't have to, is basically the message of this movie. And I think the Daniels show that really well in both their movies, that like they don't conform to a normal like directing style, and they make stupid jokes, and they make real like fart noises and butt plug jokes and everything, and they can still direct an Oscar winning movie. And I think it's a really good message from the movie. I didn't. So the ending is basically they make it to shore, they've been on shore the whole time. They're going through the woods. You find out the woods aren't that big. It's basically the woods right behind someone's house, that someone being Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who Paul Dano says he sees on the bus every single day. And he hates his life, and she looks like she has a great life. And they end up right at her house. And then, the cops come. It turns out that Daniel Radcliffe was dead the whole time, or maybe not towards the end, but basically he's dead the whole time. He's in a body bag. Paul Dano's character is going to get interviewed for the news for surviving whatever wreck he was in or wherever he was. Maybe he was just ran away, whatever it may be, finding this dead person. And then eventually Paul Dano steals Daniel Radcliffe, takes him to the edge of the water, and is saying like, we could just be together. He finally realizes he can be like his own person, and he can be unique and everything. And I don't think that it was as impactful as like the ending of Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like with Joy realizing that like her mom doesn't care that she's gay, that sort of thing. And then her mom realizing like, hey, maybe life doesn't suck because I ended up with Ki Kwan's character, and can't remember names right now. So I think just like when I compare the two movies directly, I just think, like you said, everything is sharper in Everything Everywhere All at Once. This hits all the beats and it does well, but it's definitely, it's very clear this is number one, and then they've honed it in a little bit for their Oscar win. It makes sense that it went in that order. It would be a little bit of a bummer if this came second, right? Like if they started off with an Oscar win and then you come back and it's like, oh, could this be a return form? But this is obviously laying groundwork. So you have a very good movie. And then it goes to that, but not a ton of spoilers here per se. That's kind of the ending of the movie. You can mention whatever you'd like to.
Yeah, one thing we kind of forgot to mention that I really loved about this is the score, like the whole acapella score throughout.
Yeah, because it's like them making the music and then it becomes an acapella score. Yeah, that is really good. You're right.
Yeah, and it builds up to like that epic jet ski scene at the end where they're screaming at the top of their lungs and the title card hits. But yeah, it's most of the movie. I mean, I feel like there's a ton of ways you could probably interpret this movie. I'm sure you could do a classic like, was like, who was dead the whole time? Were they both dead the whole time? Like Paul Dano literally starts the movie by trying to kill himself, and then he sees a mythical body wash up on shore and start doing all this crazy stuff. Like I'm sure there's some, I mean, the ending, don't know how that would factor in, but I'm sure there's some interpretation out there. We could say, Paul Dano's been dead this whole time, and this is him in like a purgatory state.
That's kind of what I thought was going to be honestly, my expectations when I was watching, and sorry to cut you off, my thoughts were that like when they wrapped up I thought no one saw Paul Dano and he wasn't actually there, and it was just Daniel Radcliffe the whole time, and they were like operating as like two people. I was wrong. But that's what I kind of thought was coming at the end.
Yeah, there could have been like a Fight Club moment too, like where it's like, someone's just like a figment of the other person's imagination. But then, I mean, even with the ending, how like, he confronts Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who's kind of been this mythical figure the whole movie of just someone on a phone screen. Maybe that could be like the final stages of purgatory as well. Like there's just a movie that I watched, didn't really dive too deeply into. So my interpretation is kind of what I've laid out here. I just think it's a man's musing on life of a guy who was at the brink trying to kill himself and trying to bring up another man and just kind of expelling all the thoughts in his head for what life is and what life isn't and what life should be and what societal norms are. But I feel like there's a ton of ways that you could dive deeper into this if you really wanted to spend some time to chew on it that I just haven't really done at this point. But Swiss Army Man as a whole, definitely a movie that I had a lot of fun with. Like we've mentioned time and time again, it's just one that stylistically might just not be your favorite or anyone's favorite. Daniel Radcliffe did mention that this is his favorite film that he's ever been in. It's his favorite film of all time. So good for Daniel Radcliffe. Shout out Harry Potter haters. Big win for you with that one, that Daniel Radcliffe likes this more than any of the Harry Potter films. Let's see what else. The Paul Dano also said that he heard a one sentence synopsis of the film from the Daniels. Their pitch to him was, the first fart makes you laugh, the last fart makes you cry. and that was the one sentence pitch that Paul Dano needed to officially sign on.
Hell yeah. Love that.
Yeah. Always funny when I see this on the IMDb pages for like fun facts of says this movie was filmed in only 22 days. It's like I read them like, yep, checks out, makes sense.
This kind of film makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not a lot like we said, it's Paul Dano and Daniel Radcliffe. It's not a lot of people, and it's not a big setting. It's you go to the woods. You could this would not shock me if it at the end was like shot on iPhone. It looks a hell of a lot better than that, obviously, but like they just kind of went to the woods with Daniel Radcliffe, and they don't have like costumes or anything really. It's just them in their clothes the whole time. So that makes sense.
Totally. This film is also the only film in history to feature a credit for a fartist. So there's a fartist credited in the credits of this film to help with the farts throughout. Don't know if that's mouth farts or actual farts, but impressive nonetheless.
Yeah, good way to get that job. That's someone finding a job right there and finding their niche market, and they've like cornered the market if ever needed. Was this featured on Ayo Edebiri's list of best farts? Like
I quote tweeted her and I put the clip of it. I was like, this needs to be on. Yeah, it needs to be on our list because the farts are epic in this, and you got an actual fartist.
Important. Yeah, they're very important too.
Yeah, and apparently it says members of the cast and crew all contributed to the sounds of farts that Manning made throughout the movie, except Daniel Radcliffe. So Daniel Radcliffe anti-farting, but the rest of the cast and crew helped in there.
Interesting. That's I wonder why he was like, no, I'm standing my ground, not farting here. It's his farts. He's the one farting the whole movie, so you would expect him to at least do it once. Give the respect to the film, Daniel.
And then last little fun fact I can pick out of here is Daniel Radcliffe. He doesn't like to swim or tread water, but obviously he's a fart propeller in this movie in the water. But he is scuba certified, so it's kind of one of those things. Like if you're afraid of heights, go skydiving. Like if you're afraid of swimming in the water, just get scuba certified. Just kind of face those fears.
Hell yeah. I would say like just going back to the fact that like this could be the worst movie ever, and people will hate this comparison, but it's very like Taika Waititi-esque, like Daniels and him, in the sense that like, and I think the Daniels have worked. They're kind of 2 for 2. Taika Waititi definitely has misses and hits. I'm probably higher on him than a lot of others, but where they just like throw in really stupid things and make really stupid jokes, and if the message at the end hits, it's going to work really well. But if not, you're screwed. You made a shit movie at that point. But I think they have a lot of comparison in that sense. And whoever doesn't, that'll just piss off because everyone hates Taika Waititi. It's kind of funny.
Yep. Yeah. Looks like the Daniels. This is the only. So they've only done
2 feature films.
It looks like I see Daniel Scheinert has 4 feature films, but 2 of them look like they were solo.
My dog's in my front yard.
Oh man,
we have a backyard with a fence, and my dog is currently in our front yard. So give me 1 second.
We're done with this episode anyways. So Cam's dog is on the run. So live on air, you're seeing Cam's dog run away from him. But yeah, now it's just kind of the Tyler show. I could start expelling my thoughts on life and outlook for 2024, but we'll just cut it there. Real quick, episode 125. I hope you enjoyed this movie review. Again, sorry, I know it's a bummer when we don't get everyone on here. We try our best with our scheduling to get everyone to be able to participate. But George, if you haven't seen his letterbox review for paint drying, go check it out. It'll explain a lot of things for why the podcast has been the way it has been the past couple months. I know a lot of you have been curious. That should clear some things up for you. And we hope to have him back, I think, Monday. But yeah, our thoughts are with him. And Seth, just busy tonight. Nothing crazy, so no need to worry about Seth. But thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. And we will see you on Monday with ReelTok episode 69. Peace out.